All right. So I'm going to let you start and introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Allison Hind. I'm a powerlifter, and also more recently, I am one of the co-founders of the Main Event Project.
Yay. So excited about Main Event Project, but we'll talk about that later. Let's talk about you first. So if you want to tell us just a little bit about yourself, your background, your daily life, kind of what you do when you're not in the gym.
Okay. I work as a therapist in a methadone clinic. It's a substance abuse program for people who are recovering from opioid addiction. I am also an adjunct professor of social work at a local college. This is a career change for me. I went back to school in my mid-30s. I'm also a licensed attorney and spent about 10 years in the financial planning industry before deciding to switch focus.
So, not busy or anything.
No,
No.
not at all.
Yeah, Barry just said in the background, you got nothing going on.
No. I'm a woman of leisure.
Yeah. Sounds like it, sure. So the first question I usually start off with for everybody, just because it's very interesting to me, it's actually a question that Barry came up with. Growing up, men had strongman on every bookshelf, every magazine shelf, like everywhere. They were really exposed to it. For us, it was a little different. Like, for you, how were you exposed to powerlifting, strength, that kind of stuff? And when was that moment that you decided that you wanted to do this, you wanted to be strong?
So I had some exposure to like casual strength training early on. My family lived in Pittsburgh until the summer before third grade. And when we were in the process of moving to upstate New York, we stayed out in the Syracuse area with my grandmother for that summer. And my mom and my aunt were like, into fitness at that point, and they were doing these workout videos. I'm talking like the old school, like Jane Fonda, like leotard type of things. And I was like 8 years old at the time, 7, 8. And I thought this looked like a lot of fun. So I used to, work out with them and do, the aerobics and like the light dumbbells, and loved it. And it was something I wanted to continue. But this was also the late 80s. And so when my mom reached out to our gym teacher at my elementary school, the gym teacher said, yeah, she really shouldn't be lifting weights because, it's not good for kids who are growing. And I remember being really, really sad when my mom told me that I couldn't do it anymore because it wasn't safe. There are a couple more like brushes with it, like, some gym classes I took in high school where we just went to the weight room, and I thought it was really cool that I could like leg press more than some of the guys. But it wasn't something that I really took that seriously. But then in, like 2013-ish, I got pretty into going to the gym. Had a personal trainer, had a pretty regular workout schedule. And my brother-in-law was managing one of the gyms where I used to go. He and I have, known each other since our teens because he and my sister have been together for like, 20 years or something at this point. So he's more like my brother than my brother-in-law. So we have that like, sibling rivalry thing where like he would lift something and I would want to lift more without really thinking about like, why am I trying to beat this guy? But one of his friends who worked in the gym, kind of started teasing him about it, like, oh, here comes your sister-in-law to outlift you. And then he said, in all seriousness, has she ever tried powerlifting because she might be good at it? And I was like, well, I don't really know what that is, but I'd be willing to give it a try as long as you think I wouldn't, embarrass myself or anything. And so it happened to be the case that there was a meet coming up, within a few months at a local gym. So I signed up for it and started training for it. That first meet was February 2014, and just really fell in love with it and didn't look back from there.
I was in looking at all of your numbers preparing for this. I noticed that you seem to be more of a bench only girl than a full power. I know you've done some full power. Is bench kind of your passion?
Yeah, it's always the one of the three that I've enjoyed the most. I'm not done with full power. I do enjoy doing it, but it seems that anytime there's been some period in my life where I needed to kind of like dial things back a little and couldn't really effectively train all three, that was always the one that I wanted to like stick with and keep pushing. So that's definitely, you know, where my heart is.
And I guess there's always that one lift that people love the most. Like you
Mhm.
never really find somebody that loves all three of them. They love one. Um, and I'll be honest, I looked at all of your numbers, but I didn't write down your squat and deadlift. So what is your best squat and your best deadlift? Either meet or
So I've never competed full power anything other than raw. So I don't have, you know, equipped numbers for that. My best squat in a meet was 505 at 165 raw with wraps. I haven't competed in knee sleeves in like years, so I don't have, you know, a real number to give you there. And my best deadlift was 485.
505. No big deal.
No big deal.
Raw. Just no big deal.
Well, but also like when, you know, Rita West is the person that's trained you for that, that doesn't seem like that big a deal. You know what I mean? Because it's like, cool, the person who's teaching me this has done like so much more.
But it is a huge deal. It's a fantastic number. So
Thank you.
very well done. So let's actually talk about your numbers a little bit. And I'll have to tell you, my husband's brain works overtime all the time. So I'm going to read these off to you the way that he read them off to me. So you've done 32 meets total. 27 of those you finished first place. And he literally just said it. 84% of the time you've taken first place. I would have never come up with that number. I'm not going to lie.
I did not know that number until just now.
So there you go. 84% of the time you have taken first place.
84% of the time when you walked in the building, people started competing for second.
He said 84% of the time when you walked in the building, people started competing for second place. So you have 3 second place, 1 4th, and 1 6th. So, I mean, your numbers just in competition alone speak for themselves, but your best raw bench is right now, and obviously I'm going by open powerlifting because that seems to be, you know, that's where we get numbers from, and nothing against open powerlifting, but that's, you know, that's where we get our numbers from. Your best raw bench is 355, and your best multiply is 535, which I got to see you do on my platform. So I'm a little proud of that number. What I really want to talk about is right now in the 165, you hold both the raw and multiply record, first place for bench only. That's amazing. There's only one other person that's held both records at the same time, Bear?
Scott Mendelson did it.
Right. Scott Mendelson is the only other person to hold both records at the same time. So I know going into our meet, that's what you were looking for, was to get that first place multiply. So let's talk a little bit about that, the preparation for that meet. And that was in July.
Yeah. So, you know, COVID really threw a wrench in my lifting plans like it did for a lot of people. So in the very beginning of 2020, I decided that I wanted to try some multiply lifting. You know, like I said, Rita West has coached me for years. It's hard not to at least have some kind of curiosity about it when you're around her all the time. My boyfriend is a multiply lifter, and so every time I train with him, I'm training in a group of multiply lifters. I'm sorry, my dog is being very vocal right now. And, you know, I'd also just kind of seen enough of that I was like, okay, you know, I've been competing raw for years. I would like a new challenge at this point. So I decided that that was something I was going to do. You know, it actually wound up being a really great thing to come back to when I got back into the gym after the shutdown, because around here our gyms were closed, you know, for months.
Right.
I was, doing the best I could at home, but I don't really have a home gym. Like I have some dumbbells and I have some resistance bands. Laura Phelps had put up a series of like at home videos on Instagram that were a godsend, but like that was it. And so I think if I had jumped back into the swing of things, trying to focus on the raw numbers, I think mentally that would have been really hard because all I would have been able to think about is how far behind I was compared to where I'd been. But multiply was still brand new. So like I didn't have a standard to hold myself to because I had never done it before. It was just about like, hey, let's get into this and, do something with it. So I had competed once, multiply bench only, in January of 2021. I did actually take an attempt at the world record then, but I don't remember what happened, like probably misgrooved it or something. I mean, that's how it goes in multiply. And then I took a stab at the same thing again in June leading up to that meet, just because I felt like I need more time on a platform in a multiply shirt. I don't want this meet in Erie to be the second time I've ever done this. So I tried the record 2 more times during that meet and missed it both times. I even jumped a command on the second attempt at it, which I don't think I've ever done before in my life. So like it figures that I would do it then. But like I knew that strength wise, I knew it was something that I was capable of doing. I knew that on a good day, I had the technique to be able to do it. It's just a question of, can I execute it on that day? But the person who held that record before me, of course, was Laura.
Mhm.
And she was there the day before I competed because her husband was competing full power that day. And, she saw me and said hello to me and said that she fully expected to hear the next day that that record had fallen. And honestly, like that was probably one of the coolest moments I've had in lifting, to have this person that's like a legend in the sport, who's just so nice and friendly in person, just kind of give me that extra boost of confidence, And so like going into that day, I just kept thinking like, wow, like Laura thinks I can do this. And I don't know, that just, I feel like that made a difference somehow.
Yeah, she's really, like, I can't wait to get to talk to her either. So
Mhm.
and this is gonna sound really selfish and I don't mean it to, but I'm kind of glad that you didn't get it at the other meet. It was really cool to watch you get it, to watch you get the record. I knew that that's what you were coming in for, because you had just taken the raw bench record not long before that, had you not?
I actually got carried. So I had owned the 165 for a little bit. I bumped it in June by 5 pounds.
Okay.
Because I got this crazy idea in my head that I wanted to see if I could do both in one day. So the meet,
Well,
yeah.
you got one. I mean, you bumped
Yeah,
one.
it turned out I couldn't, but that's fine,
So you competed in June, bumped your record, and then competed again in July. That's
Yeah, but the thing, I mean, I agree with you as far as the July meet being a really great place to have done it, because that group of women that we had competing was one of the coolest things that I've ever been a part of. So like, yes, I got that record that day, but I also watched Rayanne Miller bench 605, which is just historic.
right.
And I'm sharing the platform with Shauna Mendelson. I'm sharing the platform with April Mathis, like 2 people that, I've kind of had like held to like, legend status for the entirety of the time that I've been lifting. And like, here I am, like I'm going to meet with them and I actually feel like I deserve to be there. Like it was a very cool thing.
It really was just so amazing to get to watch all of you girls lift. And I've said this several times with everybody that I've talked to from that meet. The night before, it was probably 12:30. Well, it actually wasn't the night before. It would have been on Friday night when I was getting flights and everything together. I was putting the flights together, and as I'm putting them together, I'm looking and I'm like, I have enough women competing in both full power and bench only to do a flight of just women. So I'm texting Rob and I'm calling Rob and I'm like, dude, we have enough women to do a women's only flight. And he's like, are you serious? I'm like, yes, like we could do women only for full power and bench. And so that was really, really super exciting to be able to do that and give the women like their own stage, their own flight. And I was so excited that we had so many women sign up and show up. And I mean, for both days, just to watch these women come out and compete and just, I mean, it just blew my mind how strong everyone was and to watch the camaraderie and
Sorry.
oh, you're good.
You need to stop. This is my friend who is talking in the background.
Hi.
You're going to join our Zoom call and be a good girl. Thank you. But yeah, I thought that was cool as well, especially since, bench has been considered like kind of like a man's game for so long, so to have an elite meet where you have that many women doing it, like that was a very cool thing.
Yeah, it was really exciting. It was probably it was absolutely my favorite meet to date, but we're not done yet. We have more this year to come. So
I'm excited.
So how do you feel? And this is a question I've actually been really excited to ask you specifically, especially with everything that's happened in the last couple of weeks. How do you feel about the sport right now and its progression of female powerlifters?
I think that this is a really exciting time to be a part of it, because women's powerlifting is just exploding in the past couple of years, not just in terms of the number of women that are doing it, but in terms of how fast the numbers are moving. If you pull up, I don't know, the top 10 in any weight class, in any lift or total, a lot of the numbers that you're going to be looking at are numbers that are only a couple of years old. Right. So, it's more and more women coming to the sport and just not just pushing themselves, but pushing everything forward, and really kind of, I think, turning on its head the idea that, women are not as good at strength sports. So, like with all of that, I think there's, some tension, I guess, in that as much as you do see more and more women in the sport and you see more women really excelling, there are still some places where we are still kind of treated like the warm-up event. You know what I mean? That was the root of us calling ourselves the Main Event Project, was, the idea that like, hey, women are part of the main event too. We're not just the warm-up act. I think that's really improving. I would just really love to see a day, because, I shared this with you when we were talking about your meet, right? Mm-hmm. Is that you guys have done a great job, like really, kind of hyping up the meet ahead of time, and like you had the Facebook post so that all of us were following it and we can, start to get excited about doing it. And I remember there was one post that had pictures of like awards that you were giving out. And there was that bench medallion that you guys gave to the full power individual with the biggest bench, I think it was. And
yep, that's where it ended up.
Yes. And so in the picture, right, there was only one of those. And I had this moment of thinking like, oh gosh, like, is there only one of them because they're only going to give it to the guy? Or is it just that the other one's not made? Or is it just that they're identical and we don't need to see them both? And of course, when I got there, it turned out that there were two, and every single prize that got given out in any way, shape, or form in that meet went equally to men and women, which is great. But I think the fact that I even wondered that, and had that moment of being like, is there going to be equal recognition here, shows that there's still some improvements to be made.
Right. And I guess from my perspective, the fact that I didn't post two of them, in my brain, everything's equal. We're given it. And I mean, as the meet director, I knew what
our meets have always been that.
Yeah, for Barry and I, no matter what we give out, it's equal across the board. If a man gets it, a woman gets it. We do best lifter, male and female, raw and equipped at all of our meets. And if If a man gets an ab mat, a woman gets an ab mat. It doesn't matter for us. So, you know, for me to just post the picture of the one medallion, I posted both belts because there was a black one and a white one. And, you know, and I posted one medallion because they were identical. And in my brain, you know, if there's one for a man, there's one for a woman. And I hate, I guess for me, from my standpoint, as a meet director, there shouldn't be a question, you know.
Right.
And I don't mean that towards you. I mean, just in general, there should be no question. If I post a picture of something, everyone should rest assured that there's two of them. Unfortunately, our sport is still working towards that.
Right.
We're getting there, but
Mhm.
no, I completely understand. Yeah, you and I had that conversation, and you know, and I actually apologize for not posting both of them. Which
Well, no, I mean, I don't, you know,
no,
I
I mean, when we
completely.
talked about it, you know, I had apologized to you for not posting both of them, but yeah, I mean, it shouldn't, you know, we shouldn't have to wonder. So yeah, I
Mhm,
agree with you
exactly.
completely there. Sorry, my leg's itching. Um, so, and there was something I was going to say when we were talking about that. Oh, so the other thing, you know, we were talking about, if you pull up the ladies' numbers and how fast the numbers are changing and everything else, I think another really cool thing that we're seeing is the women that held those numbers for so long are behind everybody that's breaking those numbers. You know,
Yes.
Bekah obviously isn't in the sport anymore, but she follows so closely with Rayanne and anybody that's any of us that are still in the sport, and Shauna and Laura and Jill Mills and
Rita.
Rita and
West.
my brain is trying to come up with all. Yeah, I mean, they're all just, hey, go out there, keep doing this, and they're all so supportive and so encouraging.
Mhm.
And I love seeing that. It's so much fun to watch.
Mhm.
So I was trying to look and see what we haven't talked about yet, because we kind of, all right, so who are some of your favorite power lifters, both male and female?
You had given me that question ahead of time, and I was just like, gosh, I have no idea how to even begin to answer that question. So I think I will name instead the few that have been the most influential to
I love
me.
it.
Number one, Kim Walford. I competed USAPL, IPF for the first, I don't know, like 3.5 years, whatever it was that I was competing. And she was the first like really great, like legendary lifter that I ever met up close. You know, because like I got into the sport and you know, I found some people to follow and kind of started looking up like who was who, but she was the first person I ever met face to face. The first time I met her, she was reffing a meet that I did. And she had to drug test me and I couldn't pee. So she had to babysit me for like, you know, quite a bit of time, like probably at least an hour if I remember correctly. And it was just so cool, you know, like talking to her and like how open she was and how encouraging she was. And it just gave, you know, it just left me with a really positive impression of, you know, kind of the sport at its best, right? Is that, you know, people who are in it and they want to push themselves and they, you know, they want to be at the top, but at the same time, once they get there, they're not acting elitist, they're turning around and like trying to help boost up the other people.
Right.
So definitely Kim. Rita West, obviously. I mean, I know I've mentioned her a few times, but I mean, she's, you know, been helping me for, I don't know, years, since probably like 2017 at this point. And I think the thing with her is just, you know, you mentioned before that I hold the raw and equipped bench record currently, but like there was a period of time, not even that long ago, when she held both raw and equipped squat and total world records simultaneously. So like I didn't have to wonder if this was a thing that could be done because I had already seen her do it. It was just a question of, can I do it? You know what I mean? So as far as her, I think one of the biggest impacts she's had is just, you know, making extraordinary things seem more attainable just by virtue of knowing someone who's done them. And then also Rayanne Miller. The first time I ever saw her, I want to say it was like 2016. And I was still, on the USAPL circuit at that time. So I'd seen some single ply, but that was really it. Like, hadn't really seen women like really push the equip numbers. And there was a Rita held a meet and Rayanne came to do it. And she opened 5:05, and it just like completely blew my mind that like there's this woman who is walking to this gym that confident in her ability that she can open with a number that I haven't even come close to lifting on like any lift at all. And just, getting to know her and following her a little bit over the years, just watching her, have this goal and, be able to focus on it and like chip away at it and like make strides toward it. That's just really been very influential to watch.
And she's so quiet too. Like, she's so quiet. So to watch her lift is just, I'm in awe of all of you guys. There's something about her that kind of takes my breath away when I watch her, because she's so quiet and she's so, you don't hear much from her. She doesn't, and I talked to Jeff a lot, her husband. He and I talk, quite a bit, and to sit down and get to talk to her that day was so much fun to me, because you don't hear much from her. And yeah, Barry said she's like a unicorn. She's like a mythical creature. Like, she's so strong and she's so sweet and she's so quiet. And yeah, just I don't know, just something about her that I kind of stand in awe of all of you guys. And with her, I'm just kind of like, wow.
Yeah.
Just wow. So what are some things that you do outside of the gym other than working and teaching? And do you have any other hobbies?
You may not have noticed this in the call, but I have dogs. You met one of them already. That's Coco. Jerry is somewhere snoozing in the corner. I'm really into music. I have kind of decided in my head that, focusing more on like piano will be my retirement plan once powerlifting is not, something I can pursue as much anymore. I read a lot. I enjoy, my parents have a place near a lake, and I really enjoy spending time there whenever I can.
That's awesome. My brain just stopped. I was going to ask you. Oh, so I do want to talk for just a minute about the main event project, and what you ladies are doing there. And actually, I want to do that second. First off, I want to tell you thank you for giving me the courage to do these interviews. I really, truly would not be doing them if it weren't for you. You and I talked quite a bit on the phone the one night about this needing to be done. And I was a nervous wreck when I did the first one with Dina. I was a mess. And I still get nervous with all of them, whether it's somebody that I've met next week. Next week, I'm sitting down with Tara. I've never met Tara. I've never talked to Tara, and I'm not going to lie, I'm nervous. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm nervous. I'm sure it'll be fine. I was the same way when I sat down with Leah. I wasn't as bad with you because we've met and I've got to hug you and say hi and talk to you. And so it's not so bad. Kelly Duffy was a breeze for me because I've known Kelly for years. Same with Sherry Felder. It's my best friend. I can sit and talk to her for hours, but these girls that I've never talked to before and seeing what they do, I'm just like, whoo, Lord. So first off, thank you so much for giving me that push to do this. I truly, I wouldn't be doing it if it weren't for you. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate you taking time to sit down and do this with me as well. It really means a lot to me. And I tell these women, told all of you guys, thank you. And every week they're like, no, thank you for doing this. you're taking time out of your day to sit down and talk to me and tell me your story. And it means a lot to me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate your time because I know how valuable it is.
Oh, but I mean, yours is as well. So, we appreciate that you are taking time out of your day to give us an opportunity to, put our stuff out there.
Well, I appreciate that. Just, I hope you guys know how honored I am that y'all are allowing me to do this. So let's talk about Main Event Project for just a few minutes, and then I'll let you get back to your life. You guys have done some amazing things already. What do you guys have coming up? What, just tell us a little bit about it and what you guys want to see happen with it.
So this, overall, right, I think our goal is to make it so that new lifters coming up, right, never have to have those thoughts that I had about like, oh, like, are there going to be prizes for everyone? You know what I mean? So it's not just about the prizes, but it's more about, we want women in this sport to get the same respect that the guys do, basically. And we want to help bring women into the sport. We want to give people in the sport an opportunity to pursue things that maybe they wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to do. We've been working on this petition as far as expanding women's weight classes. In most federations, so as you don't know, heavyweight is anything that's 198 and above for women, but that doesn't really currently reflect the distribution of women's weights. So we're trying to expand those weight classes in the same way that men also have heavier weight classes. That's something that's really taken off. There have been a lot of federations or meet directors, whatever, who have come on board with that. The next project that we are working on is, Laura holds the Women's Pro-Am every year out in Cincinnati, which just, I really think that every woman in powerlifting should do this meet or at least go to this meet at least once, because it really is such a cool, unique experience. So what we're working on doing right now is sponsoring a woman to the amateur day. So that's why we're currently selling these shirts. We would really like to be able to support as much of this person's costs as we can, in terms of like travel expenses, meet entry fee, everything like that. So we're going to be talking soon about how to open up the process for applying for that. So I would say that's our next big push at this point.
That's awesome. Are the shirts still up for sale? I know they're not available for pickup, but are they still available for sale?
Yes, they are available online through November 14th.
Okay.
And there's a link in the Main Event Project's Instagram.
Okay, I'll tag Main Event, and I'll also put a copy of the link on the post for this interview so that people can find it. So yeah, I've grabbed ours. We have ours. Although we want the design that's on the white shirt, we want that on a black shirt too. So
we have been having conversations about, expanding and things that we can do for maybe the next couple shirt runs that we do. I hear you.
I'm just giving you a hard time. I
also would like to see our logo on a t-shirt because I think
Yes.
our logo came out really cool.
Yeah, so. I love the logo. It turned out great. So I guess another question, because this is a question that I have been asked by other meet directors. And so I want to kind of get your input on what you want to see happen, or, and you may not have a preference one way or the other. What I've been asked by other meet directors is, with the new weight classes that we're expanding for women, are we going back and changing those? Are we looking at just going forward? And, because obviously there are records in the 198 plus. And I mean, that was the direct question. Are you going back, and how many years are you going to go back and change those? Or are we just going forward? So what would you like to see happen?
I'm more concerned about going forward. So we did engage someone to run some numbers when we were trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to pitch this to federations or meet directors or whoever's making these decisions? We wanted some data to support this. I also ran my own numbers, just like the, nerd, like curiosity part of my brain.
The
So I went back
84%.
years. Yes. Yes. So I went back on open powerlifting and I looked at data from 2011 to 2021. And I broke it out by weight class as far as like how many entries there were. I can't remember what category I used. It might have just been like raw with racks or whatever, but just playing around with those. How many entries were there in each weight class, existing weight class, for each of these years, and how many entries would there have been if we also had 220, 242, etc. And in the first year, like 2011, I think if there were actually a women's 308 class, so that super heavy were 308 and above, there would have been no women in that class that year. And I think it might have been single digits in the 308. It's grown since then, but to me, I'm a lot more concerned about, all right, what do we do going forward? Then are we going back to data for meets from like 2012 to add weight classes that based on the population that maybe didn't need to exist at that time?
Yeah, and I
Guys, you are really not helping right now. Come on.
You've already met Coco. Now you can meet Jerry.
hi, Jerry.
Here's
Yeah,
Jerry.
I kind of figured the answer because that was kind of my answer as well. I think as women, we're more concerned with going forward. We're not,
Exactly.
we're not asking you guys to go back 20 years and change all of the data on open powerlifting.
Right.
We're concerned with
Right.
going forward. We would like for these to be implemented.
Mhm.
If we want to look at going back 5 years and implementing it for the past 5 years, because in the last 5 years, it has kind of blown up some, not some, a lot. But that was actually my answer was, as women, we're more concerned with this going forward. We're not asking everybody to go back and change the past 20 years of,
Right.
of powerlifting.
And
So
frankly, open powerlifting can do that. If people are really concerned about seeing like, historic data. Because like I said, I was able to run numbers using like hypothetical weight classes because open powerlifting does let you sort by those things.
right.
So like if people really wanted to see like, what would this meet result have been in this particular year if those weight classes had existed, like you can still do that. I certainly wouldn't expect anyone to, take it upon themselves to spend time and energy figuring that out.
Right. I think that's, obviously that was a question that was posed directly to me by a fellow meet director.
Sure.
And, and that was my exact answer. I think we're more concerned with changing it going forward. We're not asking for, records to be taken away from anybody. We're saying going forward, we would like to see the same weight classes for women as we have for men. Like that's exactly how it was stated. And I was just curious what your take was on it. I assumed it was probably the same as mine.
Yep.
So, well, I am really excited to watch and see what all happens with the main event. I'm super excited about it. I've already started working with the guy that does the programming that I run for my meets to add those weight classes in.
Cool.
We'll start ours in 2022, which
That's exciting.
I don't have another meet until February of 2022. So
Yeah, 2021 practically over.
Right.
As it is.
So we've already started working on that. And yeah, I'm really excited to see the next chapter. It's this, I don't know that any of us expected it to blow up like it did, but I'm really excited for you guys.
Yeah, we did not either. And that was a lot of our group chat going back and forth, especially that first week with the petition has been like, oh my God, we're already up to this many signatures. Oh my God, we're already up to this many signatures. It was like we were barely had enough time to celebrate like one milestone before we hit the next one.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a pretty cool thing.
That's awesome. Well, you know where to find me if there's anything you guys need. Barry and I are here to help in any way that we can. CFH is here to promote anything that the main event project needs. obviously, you know how CFH was born and what it was born from. So I am all for promoting anything that you ladies need. Do you have anything that you want to add?
Just if she wants to, if she feels like going over a list, if they've compiled a list of federations that are on board, so anybody watching this knows kind of who's
Yeah.
behind it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go ahead and if you have it or know it readily.
I can access it.
I know for certain that SPF, IPA,
I think RPS and XPC already have some version of it, at least.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, SPF, RPS, UPA, USPC, XPC, WRP, IPA. Those are all feds where we have confirmation there's going to be at least some expansion, right? I think some federations may not end up going as far as adding like a 308 and a 308 plus. You know, they might cap it a little bit lower, but either way, those are all the ones that we know are at least going to be expanding beyond what we have now.
that's
I
awesome.
assume XPS will be.
Yes. Yep. XPS.
Awesome. Well, like I said, you know where we are. If you need anything, I can say for us, IPA is expanding all the way to 308 and super heavyweight, where they're just going to be identical across the board. The only difference is the ladies will have one class lower than the men.
Mhm.
And they have the 97-pound weight class. And the men's do not. You know, I don't know that I've ever had a 97-pound man compete. So,
In
and
the youth divisions, but
and if we do, then you know we'll add that in there.
Mhm.
We're not opposed to it. So
Yeah.
anyway, and if Kathleen James is watching this, she's going to comment right now because she can hear my dryer going off. So, and it's a little bit of a joke that she and I have going, but anyway, I just realized it went off and I was like, oh, I probably should have stopped that before I started. So either way, doesn't matter. Thank you so much for taking time out today and sitting down with me. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you probably at, I don't know, Laura's meet or Shauna's meet. I think we're going to come up for Shauna's for sure. I'd like to come up for Laura's. And we'll definitely be back in Erie in July.
Awesome.
So I really look forward to it. And if y'all need anything, let me know.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Always. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Okay.
You too.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.